My name's Phil Schwartz. I'm a 10th Planet Jiu Jitsu black belt, second degree under Eddie Bravo. And I have been practicing Jiu Jitsu martial arts for 17 years now. And I'm the owner and operator of 10th Planet Portland, 10th Planet Vancouver, and 10th Planet Happy Valley. Um, so we have three locations in the Portland metro area, and we have one more that another one of my black belts runs. So technically, we have four locations, and we've been here since 2013, which was when I opened my school with Nathan Orchard, and yeah, it's been a really good journey. We didn't think we were going to open a school. We were actually moving to Portland to train at a school that ended up closing. So we were both purple belts at the time. And so we ended up opening a gym because there was no other gym in the area like us doing what we wanted to do. We kind of had to create that space that we wanted because it didn't exist at the time. And it was hard. It was tough. It was tough building a gym as a purple belt. I remember the early days of having only 20, 30 students. I remember, years and years of working two jobs, three jobs, and then heading to the gym at night. Um, and now, luckily, jiu-jitsu is my full-time job, just running the gyms, teaching and training. And in the last 3 years, we've been able to open three new locations. So we've basically opened one location per year for the last 3 years.
Wow.
So that's been really great. But we were only able to do that because we had students and instructors who had been putting in the time and putting in the effort for many, many years, for decades leading up to that. And so when they were ready, we were ready. And we were able to open more locations together.
That is so cool. Wow. The 3 years in three locations is kind of crazy.
It is a little crazy. I kind of have I've got those two wolves inside of me, like the one that is in a rush to get everything done and wants to start yesterday. And then the one that's like a perfectionist that can't start the project until everything is right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of learned that sometimes you just have to get started, and things will get cleaned up along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like to be pretty organized when we move forward. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when you started in 2013, did you start with Zen Planner? Did you start with what software?
Oh man,
What does your software journey look like?
So yeah, it's our software journey. So that's a great question. When we started the gym in 2013, we had no software. We
Pen and paper?
we did it on. I had like an Excel spreadsheet, and every once in a while, I can go back and find this sheet in my Google form, like Google Drive, and I can see here's the months and here's who paid. I was literally chasing people around you owe me $50, you owe me $60, you haven't paid, collecting cash from everybody, paying my rent. At that time, we were subleasing from another martial arts school, so we were just kind of taking a time slot that they didn't use and trying to do our own thing. And eventually, we signed up with MindBody, and I hated MindBody. I found the software to be completely unintuitive. It didn't move the way I wanted it to. It couldn't ask the questions I wanted it to. It didn't have the data that I wanted. And eventually, because 10th Planet's a worldwide network of gyms, and we have gyms all around the world, eventually someone told me about Zen Planner, and I took a demo with Zen Planner. And the thing that struck me from the very beginning was the versatility of the software and the ability to pull data from kind of any question that you could possibly ask it. And I know that a lot of gym owners don't think this way, or they don't ask these questions, but really there are some valuable questions you should be asking from the data that you might need more than what your software can do. And I think there's a lot of software now that tries to kind of put everything together in like a dashboard for you to see sort of like a nice, easy, clean picture of a dashboard, which is great. But the versatility of Zen Planner for me to be able to run a report on any question that I want, like how many people attended 3 or less classes this week, how many people have been gone for the last 2 weeks, how many people signed up 3 months ago and are still here today. Like, there's so much versatility in the software. I've really been enjoying Zen Planner. And then a few years ago, we got set up with the very first version of Engage, which was called Up Launch.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were kind of like early adopters to Up Launch, which was really helpful. And now the Engage software is much, much better. I think that I've learned a lot about lead funnels and how leads work and the many ways that you can fail in that process of getting a lead into your door and signing them up. And that's really where the software is the most important, is making sure that all the efforts you're doing, whether it's organically or whether it's paid, to get people into your business, to make sure that those efforts are counting. Because if you don't have the software, if you're not tracking, if you're not paying attention to that data, your efforts could just be like just dumping water into sand, you know?
Mm-hmm. That is something. There's so many things I want to ask you based on what you just said, but I was thinking, how are you utilizing this data for, and there are different ways I could do it, but like for Engage, like how are you using that for your communications and Engage? And then how are you using that data? Like how has that helped you? And we can follow whatever rabbit hole we want, open up. Are you looking at this data before you open up new places? It froze for a second, but hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Um, how has that benefited you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Engage, I kind of see like Engage as kind of like a safety net, because something that we know about like martial arts and sales is that there's a lot of there's always going to be like organic traffic that's looking directly for you, right? So there's always going to be
Mm-hmm.
someone who, finds your gym or knows about your style or whatever, and they're like gung ho on signing up. And those aren't the customers that you have problems with. Those aren't the people that you end up needing to track down. It's more the person that comes to your website one time, the person who um, calls you one time and then kind of like never shows up, the person that is curious but maybe doesn't show up for their appointment. Um, and so in the past, what would happen was, you know, let's say that we have a 50% conversion rate of customers from leads. So if in a month we had 50 leads, maybe we could convert 25 customers. But what that also means is that every month there's 25 people who are basically going into the trash can, who never become customers, who never get reached out to again, who never kind of get nurtured. The main difference with Engage is that we don't forget about those 25 other people. So instead of like kind of creating the buckets of like, yeah, these 25 people were serious, they came into their appointments, they signed up. These other 25 leads, they were not serious, let's just forget about them. um, Now I use the Engage software to nurture those leads and to re-engage those leads that we can um, so that we can continue to speak to those people and find the right time. And so that has brought our conversion rates even higher. And there's a few things that I do that are kind of concrete. Like, one thing I like to do is I like to use the communication software to send mass text messages. And so every 6 months or so, I'll take all of those inactive leads. So not active leads, not customers. We're talking about inactive leads, leads that have stopped responding, didn't show up for their appointments, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll take those inactive leads and I'll send them a text message saying, hey, 10th Planet Portland wants to give you a $100 gift. Respond yes to accept. Or this Christmas, I did one where I said, Jiu Jitsu Santa Claus wants to give you a gift.
That's awesome.
Respond yes to accept. And then like you get like 40, like I mean, it might be a list of like 600 names, but you get a list of like 40, 50, 60 people that are like, yes, 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 I want $100 gift. What is it? You know? And like it might just turn out to be a free week of training at the gym, but those people were legitimately dead, gone, disappeared leads.
Mm-hmm.
And now you might get 30, 40 more customers converted, or at least scheduling appointments that you never would have had if you weren't tracking and keeping track of all of those active and inactive leads. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I do with the software that changes how we run the gyms. Um, we also use the software for all of our lead capture, all of our messaging. We have automations, but I've tweaked the automations, which is another thing that I like is how easy it is to modify the automations and how you can kind of customize that and control it. Um, it's definitely like I can, when you look at it the first time, you're like, whoa, this is like a lot of buttons, but then
Yeah.
once you figure it out, it's like, it's pretty accessible. Um, I'm building a new website right now, and something I'm really excited about is I'm going to put a unique lead capture form on every page of the website,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to trigger that to a unique automation. So if you go to the Muay Thai section of the website and do the lead capture, you're going to get a Muay Thai focused lead automation. If you go to the kids section of the website and do the lead capture, you're going to get a kids focused automation. So um,
That's awesome.
that's the kind of stuff that like no other software has been able to perform for me. So I'm really excited about that. Um, but I really see the Engage software and the Zen Planner software as kind of like really two different things, and it's really convenient that they sync with each other and they communicate. Um, but I see the Engage software as really handling people all the way up to when they become customers, and then I see the Zen Planner software as really handling them once they become customers.
Mm-hmm.
And before we had Engage, when we only had Zen Planner, we were really struggling to handle more of that the lead nurturing part of the customer relationship. And now that we have both of the softwares, it's really like kind of changed things for us.
Mm-hmm. The full like life cycle,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
is really cool. That's awesome. I think those are when I was talking to my coworker Kelly, who also does customer interviews, and I was like, "What do you like? What do you want to know about Engage? Like, what can I ask him about Engage?" And she was like, "The top two things that he does with Engage." And you answered that.
Oh, nice.
um, and I think it's really cool. I don't know how people are utilizing it, but I think when they hear like I'm the fact that you're doing, I just feel like it's so maybe it's not as advanced as I'm thinking, but for our customers, like the fact that you're going to do those unique lead forms and then they're going to get unique automations, I think is just going to really be impactful.
That's
And
the next level. That's
yeah,
that's not where we started, and that's not
yeah,
where I would recommend that a normal like.
right. It takes time.
We're also, I mean, our main location has over 400 students, so
Mm,
we're in a place right now where we are trying new, more advanced things. You know what I mean? If I do a lot of business coaching, and I was a business consultant for many years. And when I'm coaching other gym owners and other business owners, I always tell them like there's there's right moves for the right time in your business's life cycle, you know? And for a lot of people, I think that they might be like a solo operator. Maybe they're just running the gym with just them. Maybe it's just them and their wife. Maybe they have like a small staff, and they're kind of worried about like, well, what are these big gyms doing, and what like how do I do everything? How can I keep up? And that's why you need tools like software, like Engage, like Zen Planner, because the software and the automations are going to do a lot of the work for you, and it's gonna allow you to basically almost almost have act like you have a bigger staff than you do, you know. And so I think that like there's a right time in the business's life cycle to get on with Engage. And for every business that might be a little bit different, but really it just comes down to most businesses when they open up, and this also just come depends on what your marketing budget is. But if you have a large marketing budget and a large, um, if you have a lot of money to get started, then I would say sign up for Engage right away. Start on day one with Engage, because you don't want to lose those leads, and you want those automations, and you want those immediate text responses going out to your customers when they inquire about the business. If you're a little bit more of a bootstrapping company and you're, on a little bit of a tighter budget, I would say start with Zen Planner and try to leverage as much organic growth as possible for maybe the first 6 months or whatever. And when you feel like your organic growth is kind of topping out, and you need more tools, and you need to capture more people, then I would switch over to using Engage also to make sure that you're not losing those people.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Um, I think, yeah, part of what um, I think I'm looking for as you're talking, it's such a good story. When, so when you first started, because I know there are people that we have a lot of people that are starting their businesses, and you decided that software was like you got big enough or you needed software. Why, I guess I can't really ask you why you chose Zen Planner initially. I guess, why did you think it was time for software? Did you wish that you had started with software at the very start? And then why, like, if you're giving advice to somebody, these are a lot of questions. These are just general areas we can talk about. If you're giving advice to somebody who is just starting off, like, why would you say, hey, go with Zen Planner?
Sure. Um, I would say that um, I when I started my gym, like I said, I was a purple belt. I had no gym management experience. I was brand new, and um, it was a lot like being a teenage parent. You know, um, did
Mm-hmm.
we make it through? We made it through. Would I recommend it to somebody else? I would not recommend it to somebody else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it was so much pressure and stress in the beginning, and so many tasks of management. It really started to affect like my own life and my own training. Now, when I open a new gym, I start with software from day one, and I think that's just kind of like a professional mentality. But I definitely think you should start with software from day one. And I think that software needs to be clean. It needs to be something that you feel comfortable with. It needs to do what you need it to do. Um, and Zen Planner does all that for me. Like Zen Planner does everything that I need it to do, and then some. It does more. And then when you add Engage to that, it really does everything uh, I need it to do. And I I think that for new business owners, the biggest reason to jump into the software is that it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money in the long run, and it's going to help you capture more customers and lose less leads, because customers have a buying window. Like customers that are looking at your gym, they're probably looking at other gyms too. And so when you get that inquiry, you don't want to have an inquiry come in on a Thursday and then you don't get back to them till Monday. Maybe you didn't see it. Maybe it was an email. We used to do everything by email. In fact, for years we intentionally did not have a gym phone number, so you couldn't call us.
Mm-hmm.
We just had an email address everywhere on our website, on Google. It was just like email us, because nothing gets lost in an email, you know. Um, but that was so slow. Someone would message us on a Friday, "Hey, I'm in town this weekend. I want to come in," and then we'd see the email on Monday, and then we'd be like, "Oh shit, we missed them." Um, so a lot of these sort of intuitive ways, people are like, well, I'm just going to do it on my phone. I'm just going to do it on my email. Well, that's not a tool that's built for martial arts businesses, you know? Like, you need a tool that's built for a martial arts business that has made considerations for what it takes to run a successful martial arts business. And Zen Planner is a tool that does that, and Engage is a tool that does that. And um, when you have a tool, I would say that most people, like 90% of people, they probably won't even use all the capabilities of what the software can do. They're just going to get the software and they're going to be like, oh my God, it keeps track of all my members. It bills everybody. It sends an automated email when they miss their payment. That was a huge one for me. When I was like, oh my God, an automated email when they miss their payment. Now, these days, that seems like obvious.
Right.
But when I was starting out and I was like, I'm the guy that chases everybody around every month and says, you need to pay, you need to pay, you didn't pay. So when we got to the automated email, I was like, holy shit, this is huge. That's a huge time saver for me. So everywhere that I can save time gives me another opportunity to work on something else in my business, to be a better coach, to engage with my students, to work the front desk, to spend time with my family. Software is freeing me up to do all those things. So without the software, I would be like running around with my hair on fire. But with the software, it feels like manageable, bite sized. I also can delegate tasks in the software to other employees. So I have other employees that have the Engage software or the Zen software on their phones. So when a lead comes in, right away they can message them back, contact them, give them that, let them know that they're being like seen and heard, and start answering their questions and booking them for their appointments. So um, one of the things that we're trying to use the Engage software right now is to get that um, amount of downtime shorter from the
Hmm.
time that the lead comes in to the time that we contact them to the time that we book them. And one of the things that this is again like this is kind of it's like it's a success story, but it's also um, something we want to work on. It's a metric we want to work on, which is that on average, a lot of our leads take between like 20 to 30 days from initial inquiry to conversion. And so, of course, we see people that they message us and then one day later they join the gym. They get all the information they need. They come in for a class. They love the class. They join the gym. Sure, there's
Hmm.
customers like that. Those are going to be more like I was talking about earlier, the organic people that are like seeking you out. Like they
Right.
already know that they want your services, right? But we have a lot of members now that if I look at the time it took to convert them, 20 days, 30 days. And so, what was happening in those 20 and 30 days? Well, they were going back and forth with a staff member. They were having a conversation and engage. They were showing up for an appointment. Maybe they missed their appointment. They had to rebook the appointment. Um, but what that means is that we held on to them for 30 days and we got them to convert. So
Hmm.
in the old days, before the Engage software, that probably would have been just like a lost lead, a dead lead. But now with the software, with the text messaging, with the automations, with the reminders and the triggers and the appointment booking, now, even though it might take us 30 days and we want to get that down, I would love to see that be 10 days, on
Hmm.
average. Um, Now we're tracking that. Now we know that it's happening. So if you're aware of data like that, it allows you to get better. If you're
Hmm.
unaware of where you're lacking, you can't get better. And
Yeah.
so, um, my wife comes from the data world, and um, she told me this saying that I really like, which is, what is measured is managed. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm so into Zen Planner and Engage, is because they do a really good job of measuring um, statistics and data. And a lot of other softwares, I feel like they just are just really like thin on the data, and they just
Mm-hmm.
kind of show you like, yeah, like here's how much money you made this month, and here's how many students you have, and here's all the customers that came in. But there's a lot more to it than that. And so
Yeah.
if you are the kind of business owner who really wants to manage some of the smaller aspects of your business that can make you more successful, you need to start by measuring. And so you need a software to help you measure what you plan to manage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. How long do you think it is from like when the lead comes in? So, like, say they fill out a form to when they get communication from your team?
Instantaneous. Oh, from my team or from the
Or,
automation?
well,
The
I
automation is
guess
instantaneous.
you're getting instantaneously. I feel like that makes the biggest difference because if you're getting it immediately, I signed up for a running coaching program and they got back to me 5 days later, and I
Right.
almost and I had to do like ACH payment. I almost was like, I'm not gonna. I did need a running coach, but I was just like, this is taking too long. Like someone
Right.
manually reached out. Like I just that difference. I'm sure, like immediate. Oh, I know that they've heard me. It's just great. And then after that, what do you think it is before like they get a personal reach out from
So
the team? How's that
um
for you?
it should be on the, I mean, depending on what day it comes in, um we have professional front desk staff who that's all they do is
Hmm.
contact new people. And they work every morning and every afternoon and every evening. So I mean, if you message us between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., you're going to get a response by 10 a.m.
Hmm.
If you message us, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you're going to get a message by 4 p.m., you know?
Yeah.
But we work with a marketing company that specializes in jiu-jitsu marketing.
Hmm.
And one of the things that they had us change in the automation that I really like, um, and I think this is kind of like a silver bullet, is we changed our initial reach out automation. So now what it says is like if you completed the form, the initial automation that you would get would say, "This is Coach Phil from 10th Planet Jiu Jitsu. Is this Sarah?" Question mark.
Hmm.
And so, um, obviously, we know it's Sarah because Sarah just filled out the form, and we're
Yeah.
looking at a form that says Sarah. But the the automation says, "Is this Sarah? Like, am I talking to Sarah?"
Hmm.
And it just triggers something in people's brains where they just say like, "Yeah, this is Sarah," you
Yes.
know.
No, I would
Um,
think the same thing.
and you can imagine how like if I had another automation that was like, "Hey Sarah, this is Phil from 10th Planet Portland. Please let me know if you have any questions." You fill out the
There's no call
form.
to action. Yeah.
Right. You fill out the form. You get this automated text message. It feels like an automated text message.
Hmm.
It sounds like an automated text message. You're like, oh yeah, I'm at work right now. I'll just like message them later or whatever. But when you get the other message and it's like, hey, is this Sarah? This is Phil. Is this Sarah? It feels more conversational. Like, yes, this is Sarah. Okay, cool. Hey Sarah, and then that's when a human takes over.
Hmm.
So as soon as you say yes, this is Sarah, now a human comes in and takes over and says, "Cool, Sarah. Let's get you training. Let's get you on the mat. Let's answer your questions. Let's
Touch.
book you for an orientation." And then pretty much from there on, the automations are only going to kick back in if you stop responding to us, if you go dark,
Hmm.
or if you book an appointment. Otherwise, it's going to be a human talking to you.
Yeah.
And so that's something that like that's another thing that I think that is kind of revolutionary is like it's not just like human text to text communication inside of software. That's pretty new. That's on the newer side in terms of like what most softwares could do. Most softwares could not do two-way texting 5 years ago, you know? Um, I don't know if it's the ATP, what do they call it? ATP, A2P, I forget what that's called. But anyways, most softwares couldn't do that. Most softwares could do one-way texting and there would be no response, you know? Um, just getting two-way texting was like huge.
Hmm.
And then getting two-way texting with automations was like a whole nother level because you have humans and software automating together to where you're really not losing people, you know? And so if somebody doesn't answer my message for 6 days, I don't remember that. I have new messages I have to answer, but the automation remembers that. So
Mm-hmm.
6 days later, you get that ping. Hey, Sarah, this is Coach Phil again, trying to help you with answer any questions or whatever. Do you have any questions? You know, and then one that's interesting is kind of the final touch in our funnel is like this message that goes out that's like, hey, we haven't heard from you. Did you purchase a membership? Are you still thinking about purchasing a membership, or are you no longer interested in purchasing a membership? And that one is really interesting because I get really surprised by how many people respond to that who have basically gone dark.
Mm-hmm.
So, someone who, you know, maybe they no showed their appointment, shit came up, you know, and they they already been reached out to by a human, text message, all that kind of stuff, and they're still kind of just like not responding. Then they get this message that's like kind of feels like it has some finality to it, where it's like, hey, we haven't heard from you. We're just kind of trying to figure out where you're at. Did you grab a membership? Do you want a membership? Or are you sort of over this?
Mm-hmm.
And they really self select there. And a surprising number of people will say, like, no, 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 I'm still thinking about signing up. I, I just had this issue with work, or I had this issue with finances, or I had this issue, whatever. And so, um, that tells us like this is not a dead lead, like keep engaging with this person, you
Mm-hmm.
know. um so I like that automation, and I feel like as a business owner, like everything that you can do, and everything that you do, that like this is another important thing. I think i think a lot of business owners get turned off by automations, or by, you know, pre-written emails or stuff like that, um, because they read it through one time and they're like, this is corny, this doesn't sound like my voice, this doesn't sound like my gym, this isn't my culture or whatever, and then they're just kind of like, meh, throw my hands up, it's not for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's bullshit. Like, you need to get in there and rewrite every one of those emails and rewrite every one of those automations to make it sound like your culture, to make it sound like your gym, to make it sound like your voice, you know? So if you're not happy with something, just rewrite it to make it something that sounds like you, so that your customers feel like they are talking to you and they're not getting like corny pre-written
Mm-hmm.
emails that again, like when I go into a software, the first thing I do is I go in and I turn off everything I don't like. I'm like, nope, not that, not that, not that, not
Because
that,
you can.
because I can. And
Yeah.
like anything I do like, I leave it on, and anything that I'm iffy about, I just start working on it until I like it, and then when I like it, I turn it back on. So like one of the things that's like, I know I'm gonna have my work cut out for me with my new website is Zen Planner and Engage have a lot of good funnels in them that are pre-created, like pre-written out funnels. So like if you just search in like youth martial arts or youth striking, you'll get a funnel in Engage that corresponds to that. But I know that that's not, it's not just like done. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna take that funnel and I'm gonna add my own flavor to it to make it work for my business.
Mm-hmm.
And just having the blueprint is enough for me to really get started. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it to be 100% completed, but having to not starting from scratch and having that blueprint there just gives me everything I need to just be like, change this sentence, change that word,
Mm-hmm.
change this email, change this timing, change this trigger, and now it's exactly how I want it to be.
Mm-hmm. I love that you've been able to personalize it. And maybe that's what people are. I don't think that people are unhappy with Engage, but I think they're not getting their hands dirty the way you are and really making it unique to them. So that's
Yeah, and
really
I
cool.
mean the onboarding is like really fast, you know? Like it's sort of like a fast onboarding, like let's get you set up. Okay, your leads are coming in. Now the automation is set up. Like, here's where you go to text them back and set appointments. And like, if you never go deeper than that, like the software will still work. Like you could just go to that level. You could let the onboarding specialist set up all your funnels, all your links, and you could just let the leads come in and just only show up to the conversations tab and just respond to people and book appointments. But you'd only be getting like the most basic layer of the software if you do that, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I think that one thing that I've noticed about Zen Planner after they got acquired by Daxco is that the um, technical assistance has been getting better and better. So the amount of people who are available or on call to help you troubleshoot stuff seems like there's more people on call, more availability, more great people who can kind of help you with troubleshooting. And so you need to get your hands dirty as a business owner. You need to be asking those questions. And if there's a like 9 times out of 10, I will contact my Zen Planner rep and be like, it would be really great if your software could do this. And then they will say, it does do that. Here's how you turn that on. And I'm like, oh shit, I should have just asked that question earlier, you know? Like,
Awesome.
how long have I not known this? So I don't think that it's, I don't think that it's a situation for like where the software needs to tell you like what it does. I think that business owners need to tell their representatives, here's what I need from the software, help me get the most out of the software, and then you'll find that the answers are like forthcoming, you know?
That's amazing. Um, oh, yay. I have so many good things. One thing I did want to ask you about that we're trying to get more content on is the belt tracking aspect of Zen Planner.
Yeah.
Um, how do you utilize that? Has it been helpful for you? Is that one of the main things that, can you hear the dogs growling?
Uh-huh.
There's someone, I'm house
Mailman.
sitting, and there's someone that actually goes and cleans up their poop. So
Oh, nice.
that is
Not
insane. But
That's not
yeah,
you.
other on another note, yeah, how are you using belt tracking?
We use the belt tracking. The belt tracking is very helpful, just for kind of seeing where people are at, for tracking like when promotions happen, for looking at the layout of the gym and seeing like how many black belts do we have, how many purple belts, how many brown belts, how many white belts. Um, so yeah, I mean the belt tracking, it is helpful. We we don't do um, attendance based promotions. So our it's not for us. It's never a question of how many classes have you attended, but we like to look at that data. So we let me rephrase. We don't look at your data and say Sarah has attended 100 classes since her last promotion. She probably needs to be promoted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we will do is we'll look at the data and we'll be like, we're thinking about promoting Sarah. She's really good. She's really consistent. How many classes has she attended since her last promotion? Holy crap. Sarah has attended 250 classes since her last promotion. And this other person has only attended 100 classes since their last promotion. Um, so that kind of data is helpful. So we kind of combine the data of the attendance with the data of the belt tracking. Um, it's also helpful for kids, but yeah, that's. I mean, being a purely no gi gym, maybe it's less important than at a gi school or like another kind of martial art, like maybe karate or taekwondo. They might need more belt tracking, um, but it is nice for us to be able to like use the system to track belts as well.
The dogs went crazy while you were talking, but
Oh, it's
I
good.
heard you. Okay, that's cool. That's good to know. It'll give us. It was definitely not like the route that we were taking, but I was like, let me ask this question, maybe get some um, SEO rankings on belt ranking and tracking and all that good stuff. Is there anything that I did not ask you that you wanted to talk about? Anything you feel like I missed?
Hmm.
It's always a hard
Anything
question.
you missed? Um, let's
Like if
see.
there's something specific about Zen Planner not Engage that you would want to speak to,
Something positive about Zen Planner that's not engaged. Okay.
and
Um,
you don't have to, but if there's something that comes to mind or like something specific about.
I mean, going back to attendance tracking, I think attendance tracking is really important.
Mhm.
I think that knowing your attendance numbers, I think it's something that a lot of gyms don't do, or they don't do a good job of. We use the Zen Planner app on our iPads to have everybody check into class, and so we have that streamlined at the front desk. Everybody checks in. If their payment didn't go through, they get notified, um, and we're able to see like every day, every class, what the gym looks like,
Mhm.
and I think that's really helpful. Um, I really like the financial tools in Zen Planner, and um, I really like the customizable dashboard as well. Um, there and most of the stuff that I don't like about Zen Planner is being updated or fixed. So, like for
Mhm.
example, I just got the information about turning on credit card fees for customers, or I just got like getting new, um, getting some new like funnels and new other marketing tools set up. So like, there's a lot of stuff um, that like I said earlier, like it might be stuff that exists that I don't even know about, you
Mhm.
know. And then I also talk to the development team a lot, and so I've been telling them like things that we want. Um, so I feel pretty heard, um,
Yay.
and I feel like yeah, like Zen Planner definitely does what I need it to do, and um, yeah, I don't know. I've probably been using Zen Planner for over 8 or 9 years now.
Wow. So you've been through it.
Um, yeah,
Been through it
so
all.
it's probably been a long time, and yeah, in terms of the software, I can't really think of any things that it doesn't do that I want it to do.
That's
Um,
wild. That's awesome. Well, you always
yeah,
let us know if there is.
yeah.
um, that's that's really good to hear. One question, I'm like, how do I phrase this? Do you think if you hadn't have had Zen Planner, and you can answer it any way that you want, if you hadn't have Zen Planner, would you have opened these 3 locations in 3 years?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I mean, all three of those locations are using Zen Planner, so they're all built off Zen Planner.
Hmm.
Um, if I hadn't have had Zen Planner, would I have opened those three
Well,
locations?
we know you would need a software at least.
Yeah, I
um,
mean, I mean, I can tell you that, like, okay, there's a phrase, there's a joke in the legal world that the most expensive decision you can make is hiring a cheap lawyer. Um, and so I kind of feel like software is like that. Like, I don't think that you need the most expensive, craziest software. Like, I'm sure there's a software out there that you could spend $800,000 a month if you wanted to. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's like a software like that. Um, but there's a lot of other softwares out there that are kind of like, maybe they're $50 less, or they're trying to cut corners or whatever it is. And I feel like when you like if you just don't if you look at the Zen Planner platform and you're like, well, I just don't like it. Like, I just don't like the buttons, or I just don't connect with this software. Um, I don't like the walkthrough. Whatever it is, like, that's fine. You don't have to like the software. Go find a different software. But if your main concern about the software is the price of the software, then you should be thinking about whether or not it's a good decision for your business. Because what I can tell you is that when I was using MindBody, I didn't like the software. The price was great, but I didn't like the software. The software didn't work for me. and I wasn't working with it. And so because it was so frustrating to me, I didn't want to get deeper into it the way I did with Zen Planner. So like when we were talking about getting your hands dirty as a business owner, like you need a software that you feel comfortable working with and a software that can do what your business needs. And for me, Zen Planner is that software. So I like the way it runs. I like working with it. It does what I need, and the price is totally reasonable for all the things that it gives me. So if I was still using another software, it's totally possible that I'd be struggling with that software. And so if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're struggling with your software, come check out Zen Planner and see. I challenge you this. I challenge you this. Sit down with a Zen Planner representative. Sit down with a product representative. Ask them a question about what you want the software to do, and see if the software can't do it. See if there's a question that you can come up with that the software can't do, because I haven't found that. I haven't found a question of something that I need that the software can't do, pretty much. So that's kind of where I'm like, okay, this software does more than what I need it to do. My needs are here. It does this, it does this.
Mm-hmm.
So if my needs were here and the software was here, that's a problem.
Right.
Now I need to change software because I need more than what it can do. But if the software can do this, and I'm like, I can't even do that. I'm just here. Like, that's kind of where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so awesome.